Hello everyone, I am Laethas and welcome back to another video, and today I have a little bit of a manga review, this time for the series that has been in my collection for a while, and it is only recently that I've gotten around to completing it, and that is Sundome. Now, you can probably tell by the cover that this series is quite sexual in nature, so if you're thinking about picking this up, do keep that in mind, is that there is a fair amount of sexual content in this series. There's no actual sex in the series, but a lot of the situations are quite sexual in nature. So, yeah, that is something to know about picking up this series. It is released by Yen Press for $13 a volume, 17 in Canada. And these are just regular standard-sized volumes put out by Yen Press, so they are pretty pricey. And the series itself is 8 volumes long of somewhat dense reading, not overly, but it's not super quick. There's a decent amount of text per page, so it is on the more expensive side of series, but you do get a decent amount of story per volume. And things to know about this series. As I've said, it's very sexual in nature. I'm not going to be opening it up for those very reasons. So I hesitant to show artwork. Maybe I will just open it up a little bit to a random page. We're good. Yeah, the artwork is very different from a lot of other series that I've seen. So it's a very unique sort of art style. So that's to look forward to, I guess. But to more get into what the story is about, when I initially started reading about it, or not necessarily about it, but when I initially started reading the series, I thought it was going to be a coming-of-age story, or heavily focused on sort of a coming-age aspect, and while that is partially true, the story more focuses on the sort of romantic, dramatic connections of the main two characters, and sort of the romance as it develops as the series goes along, as well as the drama that sort of is inherent to one of the characters' situations, but that drama doesn't really come as much into play until the last 1 or 2 volumes, though it is hinted at sort of a little bit early on and then a little bit more in the mid-section of the series. But the series mostly focuses on the romance between these two characters. Another thing to note is that this was run in a seinen magazine, so it's going to feel similar in sort of its tone and its mood to a lot of those other more serious seinen works. Not overly dark, it's not super edgy, but it does have sort of that darker atmosphere is what I would say is apparent to the series. But yeah, the series revolves around our main character, who is a part of a school club, and he's just kind of your average guy. You know, nothing, he's not extraordinary, but he's not a total loser. He's a, you know, he doesn't have too many friends, but he has some, and he's not sort of like bullied at all, but he just kind of is there in the classroom, just kind of present there, not popular, but not picked on either, or at least not a whole lot, maybe a few jabs here and there, but nothing like he's getting bullied a whole lot. And he's a part of this club with his friends, and they do club things. It's a supernatural club, whatever. And 2 females join, most notably her, and it is him and her that have this romantic sort of connection that goes throughout the length of the series and what the series focuses on primarily. So, reasons that I would recommend picking up this series would be that you are interested in romance series and you want one that has similar tones and moods and more highbrow themes that sort of a seinen series would have, or more mature themes that a seinen would have, but you also want a romance story. Then this is one I would definitely recommend picking up. Though I feel the romance isn't as good as it could have been. It is not going to blow your mind, I do not think. And the emotional weight that I feel the story needed to be super successful, I don't feel that it had. The ending was kind of meh for me. I feel the author tried to leave it open-ended, but the way that the mangaka tried to do that, I don't think was very well executed. It left off on sort of like a whatever you think, like open-ended, up to the reader's interpretation type endings. However, the up to interpretation part is kind of crucial to the sort of development of our main character, which is kind of weird, and I don't think was the right decision. You'll know if you read the series what I'm talking about, I feel, or if you've already read it, you might know what I'm talking about. But if you're not a fan of sexual natured stories, fan service, or that kind of thing, maybe steer clear of this one, because this is heavily reliant on the sexual sort of interactions with our main two characters. They don't have sex, but there's a lot of sexual sort of fetishy stuff between the main characters. So kind of like Nana Takaru in that aspect, if you've ever read that series, but not really. It just kind of is similar in that the characters are connected in their fetishy sort of sexual nature. And as it comes to the drama of the series, it's hinted at for a majority of the series, but it isn't really played up until much later in the story. So if you're looking for a drama, I don't think it delivers as well on that, because the series does primarily focus on sort of being more comedic as opposed to being more dramatic for a majority of the series' runtime. So there is a little bit of drama here and there, but if you just want a drama, I don't feel this is going to be amazing. But it's still worth reading, because the drama is still decent enough to where I think you will be entertained, or at least enjoy the series that it is that you are reading for it. But yeah, if you don't want sort of a sexual sort of maybe like comedy drama, probably not the series for you to pick up. But if you don't mind that, and you are interested on a romance series that is more in line with seinen tropes and themes, mood, atmosphere, well, not necessarily themes, but like an atmosphere, then I think this is a series that is going to deliver on that sort of romance that you're looking for. Now, I don't think this series is going to blow your mind. I just don't think it's that good, and the ending sort of hurts it in that regard, because of how the author has decided to conclude it and the speed at which the author does conclude it. I don't think it is going to blow your mind, or the emotions are going to be where I think they should be for a series that's trying to do what this one is doing. But I still think that it is a good read nonetheless if you are looking for a solid seinen romance story. But as for anything else, this isn't an action. If you're looking for an action, don't go for this. It's not a fantasy, it's slice of life, set in a contemporary high school setting, so nothing ridiculous or crazy when it comes to fantastical stuff happening. The club is about supernatural stuff, but there are no supernatural things that occur in the series. So yeah, that is my sort of review of Sundome, and like, should you buy it or should you not buy it? It depends on what you're looking for, and it really is going to depend on, are you looking for that romance, and do you mind sexual natured story material? If you are looking for more of a drama or a romance, or maybe sort of a comedy style thing, then yes, this is definitely a series I would look into. However, I would not make it the highest priority series. to be looking into. But it is definitely a series you should have on your radar and should consider reading. Now, a lot of people have compared this series to Shuzo Oshimi's Flowers of Evil, and while I can see why people would compare this series to that series, I really do not feel it is a very accurate comparison. The things that are touched on in these series are very, very different, and the elements that each one is trying to play with are definitely not the same. So if you've been recommended Sundome because you liked Flowers of Evil, do know that that isn't why you should pick this up, because I don't think the series is very reminiscent of Flowers of Evil in terms of sort of the material and theming of the stories involved. But yeah, this is different than Flowers of Evil and sort of where it goes and what it's trying to play with. So if you've been told you want it because you liked Flowers of Evil, or you liked this and people have told you Flowers of Evil is good, I don't think that is a very apt comparison. But yeah, that is going to wrap up this review. If you want a seinen romance and you don't mind sexual nature content, definitely recommend it. Not a high priority, but definitely one to have on your radar and look into. I do feel it is good and worth reading, but do keep in mind, I don't think it's going to blow your mind or give you that long or that strong sense of the feels that you might be looking for. And some of the comedic moments are quite funny, though I don't think it's necessarily trying to be the best comedy in the world. But it does have some moments that are quite funny and hilarious, and the art style really helps with that comedic sort of element that the series has going for it. But yeah, that will be it for this sort of manga review for Sundome. If you have read the series, let me know what you have thought of the series down in the comments below. Do remember, no spoilers. Or if you have more nuanced questions that you want me to answer, you can leave those down there as well. So, like, if you're thinking about to pick up the series and this review has spurred more interest in you and you really want to get some of those fine details, you can leave those as well. If you've read it, as I've said, leave your comments or just, what you thought about the series in general. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this manga review for Sundome. Yeah, if you enjoyed, make sure to like and share, and if you would like to keep up to date with all of my content, you can hit that subscribe button or follow me on Twitter. There's a link to that in the description down below. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this manga review for the series put out by Yen Press Sundome by Kazuto Okada. I am Laethas. Goodbye.